Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the What's in Your Head podcast.
Digitized live from
your company name here.
Studios in Cape Coral, Florida. It's the What's in Your Head podcast with your hosts Gordon and Don Abernathy.
What's up, OG5? It never surprises me how much damage 10 days of open windows and humidity does on a Mackie mixing board. That sucks, but anyhow, we're working on it. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Another episode of the What's in Your Head podcast. Joining us, as always, from across the country. I was going to say across the pond, but that's the other podcast where we have the Limeys on. But across the country, joining us from Las Vegas, Nevada, as always, my brother Gordon Abernathy. Gordon, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing good. I got a quick one for you.
Okay.
Is it just me? Does this
Yes.
make me nuts?
Yep.
Does this make me absolutely a little too attention to detail?
Yes.
But it is windows down or partially down season in the vehicle out here in the morning. And I have to make sure every window is at the same level across the vehicle, front to back.
You know, it's funny you say that, and let me get our other two guests on here instead of leaving them in the wings, and I'll answer your question. And joining us from across the river is the host of the Tackle Your Personal Best Fishing podcast. It's Mike, no use for a last name. And joining us from across the street, that's right, I wouldn't allow the man into my own home, but he's joining us from Zoom from probably 60 yards away, sitting in the comfort of his own living room, is Matt. And we want to welcome everybody to the Four Whitest Names in America podcast. We got Don, Matt, Mike, and Gordon. You can't get much older and whiter than that, so welcome to the show. How's everybody doing?
If it ain't
Hiya,
white,
Bonnie lad, we're good.
To answer your question, when I roll around in the tundra and I'm bumping my hip-hop music or my country hip-hop music, I crack the back windows to get a better bass response. But yes, I make sure they are both at the same level. I can't have one down lower than the other.
And especially if it's front window and back window. I don't know if your back window comes down, but they've got to be even too.
Oh, that's I crack.
You got that line going right across, right?
Well, the thing is with these new cars, these newfangled cars, because back when
You mean the ones you can't hear an ambulance in?
Yeah, and the ones where if you open one windshield, you feel like your head's getting sucked out of the fucking boom, 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 boom.
Oh, the buffeting, yes.
Because when we were growing up, cars weren't airtight. That's why they sank so quick in canals. Nowadays, they take 30 minutes. I know. I saw a Nissan Maxima sink to the bottom of Lake Mead, and it took 20 minutes.
It used to just be Volkswagens.
But yeah, you could crack one window, and the world was your oyster. Or you could remember the old cheese wedge windows in the front of the trucks, like
The one that whistled real good?
yeah. Now your kid rolls down one window.
The one that the cigarette butt was always hanging out of?
We'll be rolling down the street in a Volkswagen, and Sariana will roll down the back window, and I feel like my head's going to explode, and I got to quickly crack another window to keep the vacuum from blowing up. It's fucking crazy. So how's everybody doing? Mike, how are you doing? How's things in Fort Misery?
Oh, just lovely out here across the old
The
river.
loose and snatchy river?
Speaking of Fort Misery,
Mm-hmm.
did the person who has gone unclaimed on the Mega Millions buy that ticket pre or post Ian?
You got three people from Southwest Florida in here who have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Oh, there's
I believe it was post.
Okay, that's good, because if somebody bought that fucker, that $400 and something million winning ticket, and it was pre-Ian, and it's say floating in my dad's trailer,
Along with
Oh,
Mike's red
horrible.
roll of vinyl that I bought to make him tackle your personal best podcast stickers, and I sent him
although
to
I think
Dad's
the
house.
lost ticket would be much more painful.
I don't know. That $19 roll of vinyl kind of gets you right here.
Yes, I'll go more into the story later.
So, Matt, you were hunkered down across the street during the storm, which I didn't know because, can't see shit outside. Do you remember at any time during the 9.5 hours of ass whooping that your head felt like it was going to explode, much like when I'm rolling down the street and my daughter rolls down the back window without letting me know?
I actually do what I do best, and I just slept right through it.
All 9 hours?
Most of it, yeah.
What time did you go to
heard
bed?
Some noises, but
Hey,
said,
man, a couple of Tylenol PM.
Yep, I was stuck indoors. I'm going to sleep.
I know, but the thing hit at 12 in the afternoon. I mean, you're not exactly 20.
I do not like being stuck indoors.
So throughout the storm, as I said before, we felt like our head was going to explode. And we kept pushing it out. And I was getting annoyed because Sarah was like, I think it's a tornado. I'm like, it's not a fucking tornado. It's a hurricane. I think it's a
you were
tornado.
Stuck in the wind, the eye wall.
I think
the whole
it's a
time.
tornado. Well, we were at Publix this short 2.5 hours ago buying some groceries, and that place was fucking packed, mind you. And we saw Sariana's former 6th grade teacher. Keep in mind, she's a freshman in high school now. And started talking to him. And as you guys know, Carrie is a 4th grade teacher over at Cape Elementary, and our phones have been blowing up nonstop. You know, this school's being open. You know, there's a 4-point inspection that the schools have to pass in order to be open. And I didn't know, but apparently Diplomat Middle School and Elementary School, Matt, a quarter of a mile from our house, took a severe ass whooping. And her teacher was saying that according to the aerial drone footage, they believe, looking at the path of destruction, that a fucking tornado rolled through here. So Sariana was right. I had to apologize to her. We did. They do believe, looking at the damage, because there's like a clear line of demarcation of more damage to houses than the other surrounding houses, which obviously in a 30-mile wide hurricane, they should all relatively have the same amount of damage. But they do believe, in fact, a tornado did roll through here, which when I was putting the tarps on the roof, I was looking around the neighborhood, and you can almost see and I thought the same thing, because you can almost see a line of how it zigzagged through the, like, more houses than others lost roofing tile and fences. But yeah, so Matt, so apparently not only do we have a hurricane, but we also had a tornado roll through here.
Good to know.
Which, by the way,
feeling lucky.
Now you got a nice business. Why don't you put a little plug in there? What you do?
Well, I got a company where we manufacture microbes, and the company's called Ecological Laboratories.
Oh my God, he's in the biological warfare.
Actually, they're quite the opposite.
He's in the ecological warfare.
That's it. We're getting the world off of chemicals which is poisoning our local waters, chemicals that are poisoning our foods. I basically manufactured microbes that have the same benefits, that whether we're talking about organic fertilization or we're talking about bioremediation, but there's no negative effect at all to the environment.
And plug your business name again, because I stepped on it.
Ecological Laboratories, ecologicallabs.com.
And Matt was nice enough to give me a big ass gallon of something to pour down my toilets to eat my poop and my toilet paper and to keep me from having to flush out so often. But the reason I bring this up is you have a kind of a small campus not too far from here with about 5 buildings or so. And
yes, sir.
And you got your power back before our neighborhood did, rightfully so, because we got to get the economy up and running, and it's an industrial park, and yada, yada, yada. But I was surprised to find out after having power for a week, did you know there's houses about half a mile from your office that still does not have power?
Get out of here. No.
I'm seeing,
to this day?
Yeah. As of yesterday, they're posted on Facebook. And when pulled out of Publix tonight, when you go out by the gas station, there's a sign nailed to the telephone pole that says LCEC, no power, and there's an arrow point. So right across from Publix. And I'm seeing all this footage.
Reminds me of the Fix This Road sign I've seen around here.
Oh, we have a secret for that. Let me write that down. Cock block. We'll get back to that. Cock block.
Okay. So real quick,
hold on,
Matt, you've got my attention. So is that like a type of bacterium you're using?
Yeah, that's it. That's correct. And the biggest secret of our formula is that we actually have a consortium of bacteria, like there's tons and tons of them that can work and do many, many different jobs, but we're able to keep them all symbiotically living in the same bottle in a dormant state until you actually crack the cap open. When the oxygen hit kind of wakes them up, that's when the shelf life really starts to begin. And the amount of dosage we give you will last you the bottle you have. So if you have an aquarium, you get a 16-ounce bottle that will last you 6 months. If you have a septic tank, I give you a gallon that will easily last you a year.
Unless
and
you're like me and just dump it all in.
Start going to farms and largers, we do 275-gallon totes, but there's still no other competitive product on the market that actually can have the microbes all living together without cannibalizing each other in the bottle. And the most of the stuff that we see that our competitors have are enzymes, spores, and they take a lot longer to grow and actually start to do the job. So that's the problem with trying to do things the green way, is that we're kind of like, we want instant gratification. Well, unfortunately, there's a negative to that, and that's poisoning the earth when you're using these toxic chemicals for your quick fix. But
you mean like electric cars?
I even say chlorine in your pool. You're pouring these toxic chemicals that your dog shouldn't be drinking that water, and we're burning your eyes. But we make natural products that do all that without having the negative impact.
So hypothetically, if somebody dumped a couple of tankers worth in Lake Zurich over there, the fish would be edible in a couple of generations.
Yes, sir. And they would actually grow healthier, bigger, lusher. It's just the colors come out. It's just it is just amazing what it could do. It's
I
just,
have another experiment for your company. A few years
Yes,
back, Matt's company finally got allotted a canal. They fenced off during the height of the blue and green algae, and you guys were testing out some of your biologicals showing that you can clean this crap up without putting chemicals in. We were just down on the backside of Lake Zurich, and because of all the construction, there were four porta-johns floating in the lake.
Ay.
I'm sure they could use some of your product to help clear up that sewage that's floating around in there. Now, granted, the average porta-john probably holds 10 gallons worth of feces, and that's a 1,000,000-gallon lake. But just the idea, but on a good day, thing's only 3 feet deep. But yeah, there's 4 porta-johns, the smack dead in the middle of that lake.
It's funny, yeah.
real
You just
quick-
reminded me of something real quick, Don. When I was walking a job out here, it's a famous nuclear storage facility that doesn't, store nuclear stuff, allegedly. The engineers who have been there since day one.
Great. Now there's unmarked vans outside your condo. Good
Yep.
job. That didn't
I'm
take
allowed to
long.
say it. There's this. His saying was, the solution to pollution is dilution.
Right.
I thought your all's secret to your recipe was love, but I guess I was wrong. Anyhow, the reason I bring up the whole electric thing is, 2-3 days after we got our power back, I'm seeing all these Texas linemen and New York linemen are all being sent away. So, problem solved, with the exception, obviously, the completely decimated areas where,
You have a trail of bucket bunnies following them.
And so obviously no one expects
They
Fort
know
Myers and
everything.
Pine
They know
Island and
Pine
Matt Lachey to be up and running, but the fact that there's still places in northeast Cape Coral, we weren't decimated out here. We took an ass whooping. We had a tornado apparently, but the fact that they're sending all these cats out when there's still people without power is just mind blowing to me. But that's LCEC being LCEC, sticking up to their par for the course, if you will. So Matt fancies himself a musician.
That's the fun job.
He plays drums, and almost day 2 after the storm, you started playing. I don't want to say fundraising or charity shows, but it's, hey, we've all been dealing with some nonsense. Let's go out and have a good time.
Hmm.
You've played probably 3 or 4 shows. What are you seeing out and about around? What venues are able to accommodate live music?
Well, the unfortunate part, there's probably a good half of the venues which were in these tourist coastal areas that are actually no longer. They're either without power, or worse, they're leveled to the ground. Anything on Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, Bokeelia, Matt Lachey, and some musicians, I mean, that was their full-time job, playing 3, 4, 5 days a week and just circling the same circuit. And they're gone. And what I'm noticing is the fortunate ones, the bars and the venues that are more inland, or just happen to be lucky and not get decimated, they're pulling together, and they're basically bringing bands in. They're trying to bring in the staff and allowing different people to come in and have their days and raise money for. Like, I know Potts in Fort Myers, each day runs a different restaurant at a Sanibel to come in, their staff. The Deck in Cape Coral has been doing the cottage. I saw yesterday was their staff was there. So it's kind of nice to see, the community. And I don't even think a lot of these people know each other personally. They just know if they were in their shoes, they would appreciate what they're giving back. And, us as musicians, we're out there just, the band I'm in, we play for fun. We're not actually, full-time career guys, even though we play 3 weekends a month at least. We're just happy just to play and raise some funds for some of these people that are hurting at this time. And I'm just seeing a community coming together, and that's just from my perspective in the music world. And of course, seeing it on social media, you're seeing so many different groups of people, from the restaurant business, and then obviously charities, and even the religions are getting together, and just the sense of community is just nice to see.
9/12 all over again.
Yep.
Real quick from Facebook, Martin asked from New York, and you just dumped the entire gallon in your toilet for your septic. Probably should have did it in half, but yeah, I just dumped the whole damn thing in there. So if you guys are interested, you can email us at info@d-410.com, and I'll pass that information on to Matt. Matt, what is your major form of resale? Now, not to besmirch your fine product, but I can imagine that there's a little bit of a hurdle to jump because what your product is made of, unlike the chemical-based crap, if one of those bottles gets a crack in it, it's a mite gamey, so it's probably hard to stock that in a retail environment. So what's your major supply chain and who are your primary customers?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you have to take your negative and turn it into a positive. I kind of went into a whole spiel on how my stuff is different than my competitors. And that's one of the things that people really know about us is the smell of our product. And,
bacteria stinks.
It smells really bad. It's like rotten eggs.
The stronger, that's how you know it works.
Yes, and that's our saying. So one of my brands in the retail industry for ponds, aquariums, bird baths, lawn and garden, we have a product. The brand name is Microbe Lift, and our slogan is, if it doesn't smell like Microbe Lift, it doesn't work like Microbe Lift.
There you go.
And with enough with the grassroots campaigning when we came out, we actually took that as an advantage. We even have a meme out there. If you remember the movie Friday, when the dad is sitting on the toilet and he's just spraying because the stink is up in the air, and we have it says just cracked open the brand new bottle of Microbe Lift. You just gotta run with it.
Get your ass
25, 35, 45 minutes. You'll be fine.
Boy, get your ass in here. I wiped your ass for 3 years. You can smell my shit for 2 seconds. What did I ask you to do last night?
That's it. Yep.
Take out the trash.
But
Boy,
yeah, it is a challenge for people.
Don's going to be doing Friday freaking one-liners for the rest of the show, right?
It's a challenge. What? You were saying it's a challenge before we stepped on.
Yeah, no, but I mean, it's a challenge at first, but then with enough marketing and education and the product, once I get it in the customer's hands and nothing works like it, it becomes an advantage because people can't duplicate what we have. We have the Coca-Cola of bacteria. It just can't be.
Minus the import of coca leaves.
So,
and
that's what I was actually going to ask earlier. Now you've explained it. So there's no free lunch in nature. There's always a compromise. And if your compromise is a little bit of stank for a little bit, I'm sold.
That's it. And I told Don, you really should have poured it, when you were leaving for the day, going for work. I gave him the bottle, and Gary's just like, what does that smell? And just you learn to use it the right way.
Well, the windows were open. We still didn't have any power, so what a better choice.
No circulation.
Yeah, the windows were open. We had a nice cross breeze. I was outside cooking dinner. It didn't affect me at all.
It still smelled better than his studio right now.
I was going to say. And you're by no means a fly-by-night operation. You guys been around since like 1973?
76.
You're older than me.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so, real quick, over across the river, Mike, you are speaking of bad smells.
Oh, really?
You're in the plumbing industry. What are you seeing on the service calls? You were, since the day after the storm, you were working like doubles and on call, and you just been cashing them checks and bringing that money in. But what are you seeing as far as damage goes and just people and all that from driving around town?
Well, a lot of broken water mains. A lot of well systems have been completely wiped out.
There's one here in our neighborhood. You go down, hang a left, Matt, and drive down like Publix. You'll see the guy's shit's all in his front yard.
Yep.
It seemed like the people who had fences didn't lose their well equipment. The people who didn't have fences lost it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I had this one customer who was actually right on the river, and he has a very large service that goes into his house because he has a very large home.
As they do on the river.
And everything. The surge completely just eroded away everything underneath his foundation.
Oh, damn.
I mean, at least a good 15 feet from the edge of his foundation up under his house.
And you got to get an engineer with land. You got to get an engineer with one of those like pushy land scanner things out there.
Something.
I got a question for you, Mike. And because I work in construction,
He's
worked in construction throughout, built everything from spec homes to multi-million-dollar homes to big commercial projects. Mm-hmm. One thing I always thought was weird with Florida is why is all that shit outside?
Where else are you going to put it?
As far as the
I've even seen the water softeners outside instead of inside.
Mm-hmm.
I got just, all that stuff. It just seems like it could be a lot better off if they give up just a couple of more square feet and put everything inside.
Well, it all comes down to builder preference and owner preference. A lot of homeowners can be, very picky and don't want them inside their garage. They want that extra square footage. I've had customers that have said, "Oh, I don't even want the water heater in my garage because it takes up."
That's fine. I can sell you a nice on-demand water heater.
Right. It takes up a 2x2 space in the corner of the garage.
Well,
And
I
like,
will
"Oh, well,
say, not to interrupt you, but I will say a lot of houses don't have the advantage. My garage, I have a little advantage. Like where my main garage ends, it goes back like 8 feet where my AC and my water. A lot of people don't have that. And so if their shit was inside, even though none of us park our cars in the garage except for Matt because he's got a sweet-ass Land Rover, but the rest of us trashy folk, we park our shit out in the driveway. But even if we didn't,
It's called use your garage.
we wouldn't have room to pull our cars in there because that equipment would take up all that space. And
Right, well, like, and why I ask
that
is,
makes sense.
for example, in our garage, and yes, I can actually fit my Tacoma and a Forester in there, and it's only a 1,700 square foot house, so it ain't bougie. They've actually got a little pony wall, little lifted area where the water heater and the soft water softener goes. And what I found out about water softeners, and this is a good one for Mike, is your standard water softener that uses salt pellets will take the warranty from a hot water heater and drop it from 5 years to 3.
boy, don't we know it, huh, Mike? My water heater's been worked on twice in 1 month. We'll get to that in a minute. But
But somebody who sold a Rinnai, sells Rinnai, says it actually will take a Rinnai or a hot on-demand water heater and basically not even affect its warranty. It'll be like 20 years.
welcome to Home Improvement Talk with 4 old white guys. We're going to continue with our speech. Thank you guys for tuning in on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter and all those other places. Real quick, Matt's building a house down on the river. He doesn't live in a van by the river, but he's building a house on the river, and sadly he lost his pier and some equipment. But he's renting the house across the street from us. And speaking of square footage and people not wanting their shit inside, when Carrie and I are watching that house being built, Carrie's like, "What is that on the back of the garage wall?" I'm like, "That's the washer dryer hookup." She's like, "No, it's not." I'm like, "Yeah, why would a nice ass house put that shit in the garage? Because they don't want the heat and the sound inside the house, and so they actually put it in the garage." So it's
better
weird
for the leveling of the washer and dryer too, especially front loaders.
Well, yeah, but it's and what I think it truly comes down to is price per square footage. People don't want to add the additional cost to the building of the house to make room for all that shit inside, especially when it comes to the two. I mean, let's see, you got the big ass. How many gallons of water does that tank hold? A shit ton. Then you got the 2 sub tanks, and then you got the trash can thing that you put the salt in. That's a lot of stuff to put inside.
I'm actually going to take that step and go a step further. Is the garage is not figured into the square footage of the house, so they can actually pull that all that equipment out and say, well, no, the cost per square foot is this.
I know, but when I say cost per square foot, I mean the materials and actually building the overall product.
Yeah. I was going a little deeper, but
Yeah.
okay.
What else? Oh, I was laughing when he said Fort Myers Beach. I'm also just play this right now because it's probably going to offend some people because we're all still fragile. We're
already
all
with the
still sore. So let me just get this out of the way.
He did it again, caused trouble, hurt someone's feelings. Yet he didn't want to do it. Yes, troublesome people are often people in trouble. They may be mentally ill. Find out how you can help. Write Better Mental Health, Box 3000, New York 1, New York.
Hi, my name is Tom McDonald. Welcome to the show. If you are easily offended, then you probably should go.
The Alani Kai. The elusive
God.
Alani Kai. Did you hear that? What did Mike just say?
Oh, God.
When I
Well,
worked
it looks like they've got
that-
a fresh,
that-
clean slate on the bottom floor.
when I worked in radio,
That entire beach now has all kinds of diseases around.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
strewn about.
when I worked in radio, I worked at K-Rock. DC and I were down there, and they just redid their bathrooms. When you walk in outside underneath, they have public bathrooms. They're always horrible. And DC and I were kind of making fun of it. And the guy came in and said, "Hey, I'm paying you guys to come down here, and you're talking shit about the bathrooms." And so we had to do a little damage control. But what I was laughing because I was thinking, look, it's fucking horrible. Fort Myers Beach is gone. But the reason I was laughing is because Lonnie Kai kind of has the reputation of being the cockroach of Fort Myers Beach, and we've always heard after a nuclear explosion there's going to be nothing left but the cockroaches. Well, sadly, the only thing standing down on
There
Fort
it fucking stands. It's still fucking there. Out of
And it-
everything on that beach that could have been standing after all that fucking hellhole. is
Not to
still
mention,
there.
it's one of the tallest fucking things down there. So how did all? Because most of it got lost in water damage, obviously. But it's just.
So-
Go ahead.
What is the new structure that was being built, I guess, to the north of the Lani Kai? It looks big. It crosses over.
Well,
Longer.
we don't live in Key West, but Key West is out of space. And so let's say you're a acoustic playing, parrot loving, margarita drinking fella,
Yeah, we got one of them restaurants here on the strip.
and you wanted to create your own little paradise, if you will, a little kind of miniature sandals. Well, there's no property available in Key West, and so you buy out some defunct plots that were wiped out during Hurricane Irma and condemned due to mold, and you start building yourself a resort. And then this happens.
I asked as I was watching some straight up drone footage,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought,
So
I
like
bet you
some
that's
new
going to
type
be
of
the first
porn.
place online because it was just in rough.
Yep. They've been they took forever. Basically, there's a bunch of properties that got mildew and mold damage during Irma, got some minor flooding, and they bought it all out. And what they did is they built the resort, and then they kind of built a skyway over San Carlos Boulevard, and then a little area so that the people standing in the resort, they had basically private access. And it's going to be interesting because as the Mike and Matt can attest, on Fort Myers Beach on a Saturday off season takes 2 hours to get over that goddamn bridge because it's a 2-lane road, not counting the trolley lane. So if that place gets filled and packed up and becomes a tourist destination, I can't imagine what the traffic's going to be like getting on. Well, prior to the storm, you couldn't imagine. It's just
Now,
insane.
could your product help clean that up down there?
Just spread it all out along the beach. And
Well, I'm just thinking of some kind of, the floaty like fencing area, just all, it may. I'm not being facetious at all.
Well,
Could be a solution right there.
What's interesting is that prior to the storm is, they try so hard. The city of Fort Myers Beach tries so hard to widen that road and try to put in the trolley lanes and the bus lanes and all this, that, and the other. And there is absolutely no way. There's no more room. There's no more room. You can
No, what you can do is
beautify
go
it
up.
all you want to. You can do everything that you want to that road. That traffic is going to be absolutely insane every single day during season.
Yeah, because you can put in an 8-lane fucking bridge, but it's still going to squeeze down into 2 lanes because that's all the room they have. And the most
Does this give them the opportunity to now widen that?
No, because once again, to widen the road would be to tear out all the property because it's a thin island.
Yeah,
Right,
the city
that's
city
true.
doesn't own any of those lots or any of that property.
They could do
only go
eminent
up to a certain
domain,
amount.
but by the time they tore out all those locations to widen the road, no one would go down there because there's nothing to go to.
Right.
But yeah,
And that's no different than when they did the widening project on 75.
the funny thing is the most proficient, most effective thing they did was put in the revolving stoplights. So left lane goes, right lane sits, and then you always have that asshole
Jesus, we
keep
got
switching
metered
from lane
lanes
to
here
lane.
too.
That's the most efficient thing they ever did down there.
Have you ever seen a dynamic speed limit zone?
Oh, I just had a thought. Hold on. So there's a really hold on.
Squirrel.
Sorry, I know the lady who owns this place.
Hi, my name is Tom McDonald. Welcome to the show. If you are easily offended, then you probably should go.
Back when I had Dollar Bowl night, my buddy's girlfriend, who used to bowl with his mom, owns the place. There's a really shitty strip club right before Fort Myers Beach that's ironically called Hurricanes. Is that place still standing, or did the hurricane wipe it off the fucking map?
I don't know.
Matt, you seem the
don't
type of
know.
guy who might frequent said facility. Has anybody heard? Is Hurricane still standing down there?
Not sure.
I
know.
thought you panty fleas. I mean fantasies.
Oh, is that what it was called? Yes, Fantasies on the Beach. That's right.
Yeah,
Yes,
Fantasy.
that's what it was called.
Panty fleas.
What was their catchphrase? Non-topless adult or non-stop. I don't know, but yeah, a place was a dump. But
It's funny, Deja Vu out here, Little Darlings. I think that's the full nude BYO bring your own booze establishment. Literally had on their sign, now hiring anybody that shows up.
yeah, when I went out in Vegas,
Dear God, you're going to have half all these homeless, toothless, tweaked out
hey man,
crackheads
there's
down
an
there.
ass for every seat. There's a fetish for everybody. There'll be somebody in there who's.
The smell will be bad enough alone to turn people away.
Well, what will be worse, the smell of those particular entertainers or the type of guys who like that entertainment?
Speaking of the beach and that area and everything, and the
You can't go
storm
down
and
there, by
whatnot.
the way. They're
Yeah.
only allowing rescue and repair. Residents aren't
Right.
even allowed down there.
Well, prior to the bridge, I have a customer that lives down
In the
if you
trailer
go-
park?
there's- well, it's not in a trailer park, but there's some cuts off to the right. And there's
Yeah.
like canals and stuff like that.
Yes, the aisles.
Yeah, and there's some $1 million homes back there and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
And I was going down there for a service call one time for one of our loyal customers, and there was probably $1.5 million catamaran, just like it got picked up out of the water and got set in somebody's front yard.
Like
Got
some
past-
mad kid picked it up,
Yeah.
threw it over there. huh?
Somebody got
Yep,
drunk at
exactly.
high tide and parked it and walked away.
Exactly. So we went down. We went down the street, and we're looking, and just trash upon trash upon trash is just lined the streets. So we were talking to the customer, and he was like, "I was here throughout the entire thing," and he was like, "I thought we were gonna fucking die."
Yeah.
And he was telling us about the surge and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
His the ground outside his house sits 12 feet above
Wow.
the canal. His house sits another 3 feet above that, his bottom floor.
16 feet above sea level.
The water was 2 feet in his house
Oh,
on his
geez.
bottom floor. So 18 feet surge
Jesus Christ.
at his house right there by the beach.
There's a video on TikTok
God
of a
damn it,
guy-
John got it right.
on the top of his roof, and the water's. I thought it sucked to ride out in my bedroom on the comfortable floor in bed for 9 hours. Could you imagine riding that shit out, grabbing onto like your roof for 6? That's just got to be insane.
God damn it! I should have left.
But we talked about that. We've been hearing for 20 years that, the boy who cried wolf, and the wolf finally came. But for 20 years, it's always been the same story, and then shit never came. And as I was saying on What's the Scuttlebutt last night, in all the years you have hurricanes, this is the most damage I've ever taken. And we've had the minimum considered. But let's say my roof didn't get damaged. Let's say I didn't get both cars damaged. Let's just say my fence. Just the amount of money that we spent on food, water, and gas for 10 days. Not to mention, at $4 a gallon, the price to evacuate. And, oh, by the way, Tampa had 2 days. We only had 24-hour notice. So would you rather ride out a 32-mile wide, 8-mile-an-hour hurricane in your home or in your car on the interstate somewhere? Because where the fuck do you go?
Yeah.
We got 4 lanes going north, and you're stuck.
God forbid if you're in a Tesla that gets flooded.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
blowing up left and right.
Well, they catch fire for sure, and that's the corrosion coming in, and the water and lithium, no good. That is definitely for sure. I think we're going to have to re-engineer some things for sure.
So we're going to change up the.
Put them in a Pelican box. You'll be fine.
We're going to change up the topic a little bit. Gordon mentioned potholes earlier, and I jotted down the note cock block.
Okay.
What?
What does one have to do with the other?
Well, here's a little secret for you. Even if you live in the worst cities, regardless of any place in California, because they don't care, but if you live in a normal city and you have potholes, and this experiment was brought to fruition here in Matt and mine's own neighborhood. Matt, you probably never noticed, but when you come in off 28, if you hang a left, you'll see a perfectly black square of pavement in the middle of the road. That is what we refer to as the Cape Coral cock block. The reason that black square is there is because some enterprising young men spray painted a giant penis in the middle of the road. And you can't have that. And you can't paint over it because as traffic goes by, the paint wears off and the cock reveals itself. And so they literally paved over it. I have seen videos on TikTok where I got a pothole out in the street and blowing tires, and the city doesn't do anything about it. Get some spray paint, you paint a big cock around it, and lo and behold, the damn thing's filled in before you know it. So the lesson being, if you have potholes in your neighborhood, sneak out at night, put on some black, spray paint a big cock. You can make it uncircumcised if you want, if that's your persuasion. Do you, boo-boo. Paint a cock. Hell, paint 3. We don't care. And I can almost guarantee you, before too long, and enough Karens call about a cock that's going to offend the delicate eyes of their children who are already watching porn on their phones that they don't know about, are going to get the ODOT out there real quick to patch that shit up, and your pothole problems will go away. So just try that out. So if you want to do a little grassroots pothole fixing, all it does is cost you about a $4 can of spray paint.
Ben from the AP,
Go from
Fort
pothole
Myers,
to
Florida. Man arrested for painting cock on street.
Well, they would say penises, sir. We can't fake cocks.
That's not nice.
Speaking of oil, gas, and insanity, Exxon has evacuated Russia. Did you hear about this? Gordon, you've been staying up on the Ukraine-Russia nonsense.
I've actually, yeah, I have not heard this story, though.
Exxon, let's see, Dateline CBS News as of yesterday, the 17th of October. Exxon fully withdraws from Russia after Putin seizes assets. Wow, they nationalized something? That's not a communist country that I know. ExxonMobil on Monday said they're fully exited Russia, with the energy giant saying that President Vladimir Putin has expropriated the assets in the country and, quote, ultimately terminated, end quote, the company's Sakhalin-1 oil project, some Russian name that I can't pronounce. Almost looks Native American. But anyhow, I digress. Quote, with 2 decades, the Russian government has ultimately terminated our interest in the pipeline that I can't pronounce. The project has been transferred over to Russian operator, an ExxonMobil spokesperson said. She didn't disclose whether or not Exxon received compensation for the assets. I bet you they didn't.
They don't get any money
That's
left.
not how nationalization works. Read Atlas Shrugged, you learn something. But added that Exxon plans to reserve its legal rights under the international law and its production sharing agreement to persuade remedies. So that sounds like they didn't get shit except for a kick out the door. Russia moved to seize Exxon's assets come after 7 months of negotiations over the transfer of the company's stake in the project, according to Reuters, which first reported the Exxon move to complete its withdrawal from the country. Quote, we made every effort to engage with the asshole who's running this shithole country, said Exxon spokesperson. In March, the energy giant announced that they had planned to exit Russia in response to the nation's invasion of Ukraine, and that it would not make any more investments in Russia, them and everybody else. Exxon Russia's holdings were valued at more than $4 billion as of 2021. That's a lot of what kind of shitty currency they have over there. According to the company's documents, the project, which Exxon has managed since 2005, thank you very much, that is rubles, according to Gordon, has generated $16 billion for the Russian government, according to Exxon. Earlier this year, Exxon took a $3.4 billion after the tax charge for the project and its assets. It also said that the operation represented less than 2% of its total 2021 production, or about 65,000 barrels per day, and 1% of its operating earnings. So they are pulling out, which is, we know that the other pipeline got blown up. We know the bridge got blown up. And now they're bouncing out of there, and things are not going well over there.
No, it seems like we're on that slow march. We're just waiting for that Franz Ferdinand moment.
There's got to be somebody over there that's willing to do the thing.
Well,
that
if you
needs to be
notice,
done.
some of his some of the people in his close circle had some accidents here over the last couple of months.
Yeah, from what I understand, he's like basically eating in a room alone, or like at a 2-mile-long dinner table with the guy
Now
way
you
the
get-
fuck down there.
I hear that there's actually getting to be more and more civil unrest in Russia, which is what we need.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he will be defenestrated.
Ooh, there's a good. I know what that means. Test for Mike and Matt. Who knows what disfenestrated means? You have 10 seconds.
It happens so much that there's a definition.
Boom, boom,
You got me.
Mike. Boom, 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 boom.
One who has been tossed through a window to their death.
I was going to ask. I was going
And there was one guy in his circle that fell out a window.
I was going to do the whole test of. Do you want to take the elevator or the window? What movie was that? That was
No, it's not an earthquake, I swear.
Yeah, defenestrated means to be thrown out a window.
The old Marcellus Wallace.
Yep.
You got it.
It's just a foot rub.
Mhm.
More than just a foot rub.
Foot massage.
So Carrie and I have been binge watching 60 Days In. We're on season 4. And let me tell you this,
It's an addicting show.
Atlanta County Jail, boy, that's a shithole.
Aren't they all?
Now, they go into this project claiming, the sheriffs do, that they want to fix their system. I, the cynical bastard that I am, believe that they go into this because they want free surveillance equipment, because after all, production leaves, all the cameras stay. It's part of the gig.
And it helps get funding later, I'm sure, too.
So I was interested to know, and I simply Googled who was fired after the airing of seasons of 60 Days In. Now, you would think you have 2 seasons of a show on season 1 and season 2 in Clark County, Indiana. I was really thinking there'd be some like ambulance chasing lawyers, trying to sue for this, that, and the other thing. And this story came up on Yahoo as of July 29th, 2022. Lawsuit says female inmates at the jail featured on 68 Days In were punished after a guard sold keys to their cells, and some of them were raped. So season 1 and 2 took place at this place under the guise of fixing shit and firing bad prison guards, and this happens. Fast forward to all the advertisements on Yahoo because, well, Durham is junk mail nowadays. 8 women listed as Jane Does in the suit says Clark County Jail Officer David Lowe handed over the keys to the women's cells to male inmates on October 23rd, 2021 in exchange for $1,000 apiece, according to the complaint. Apparently, those cameras weren't running that were left behind by production. Attorney Stephen Wagner told insiders the jail has a history of controversy, sexual abuse, and misconduct. Some of it were revealed years ago on 60 Days In, the reality TV show. The first 2 seasons of the show, which featured the findings of an undercover inmate placed in jail, were based at Clark County. Scroll down past more advertisements. The lawsuit says the malfeasance, that's a good word, the malfeasance continued last fall when male inmates were given access to the re-entered the pod. Nice writing. I mean, I know I'm drinking wine and I got a learning disability, but even I know that's fucked up. Were given access to the pod and covered their faces and harassed, groped, and threatened the women for more than 2 hours into the next morning, according to the suit. 2 women were ultimately raped by the inmates, according to their complaints. Jane Doe number 1 was left bleeding with vaginal tears and genital herpes, in addition to significant emotional inquiries. Now, a lawyer of any power would suggest that perhaps she had that before getting to the jail, but I digress. The male inmates told the women that if they pressed the emergency call button, which as we learned in season 2 and 3 and 4, that shit doesn't work because the prison guards just ignore it, they'd harm them even more, Wagner told Insider.
I bet you that's because fools press that thing all the time.
Yeah, the Tebow guy kept hitting and saying he had swelling in his pants and he needed help. Within 3 days, Lowe's was questioned, fired, and arrested, but Wagner told Insider he isn't the only one culpable. Quote, he was fired and then terminated. Really? Is that how that works? You get fired and then terminated? Goes back to that lovely writing here on Yahoo. He was fired and then terminated, and you think that would have shifted the focus onto the assailants who were accused of the assault on the women, Wagner told Insider. But instead of making any arrests or charging any of the male assailants, they took action against the women. Despite the surveillance camera, I guess probably left behind by the production company, filming the men entering the women's pod, no jail staff intervened, according to the suit. In the days following the attack, guards frequently searched their cells, confiscated their hygiene products, and left the lights on for more than 3 days, Wagner said. The lawyer called these actions, quote, psychological punishment and an effort to keep the females who were being held at the jail pre-trial from speaking out about what happened in their experiences. Shortly after Lowe's arrest, local news ran stories about the security breach. At the time, there were no mention of any of the injuries to the women in the jail. A probable cause affidavit reviewed by WDRB said Lowe admitted to allowing inmates access to secure areas of the jail for payment. My question is, where do these guys get thousands of dollars to pay for keys? I mean, I'm sure half of their bail was probably less than that. But it's just amazing that we do these shows under the guise of fixing the problem, and 4 or 5 short years later, ain't shit fixed over there. I don't know if they still have the same sheriff or not, but that's just insane.
Do you think they left all the production equipment?
Oh, I'm sure they did. I mean, they had to have it installed correctly and securely. I'm sure. I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure that those cameras are, at least they would have to be. I mean, because you watch that show and they can see damn near everywhere. They saw everything going on. So unless the sheriff's a complete moron, he would say in the contract, hey, you guys can come and film, but that shit's staying here because we need surveillance equipment. And you by sure have better than the 1989 stuff that we have mounted in the corner in that steel box. But who knows? It's just insane. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with people. We had another mass shooting.
They're people. That's the problem.
I don't know. We had another mass shooting in South Carolina. Some kids shot some people on a running trail.
I hate to say this. I've been saying it for a couple of years, and as things are even getting worse in Eastern Europe, I almost feel like we need to be knocked back a couple hundred years.
Well, the question is
I hope it doesn't happen in my lifetime, but it just seems how things are progressing. And I mean, even Obama is calling on a podcast is calling out Democrats, saying, "Look, knock it off."
Well, I don't understand what the hell is going on that we are losing value in people's lives. That's the ultimate problem. It's not the availability of guns.
Desensitization. Now I'm like Don. I can't talk.
Yeah,
Everybody's
I can talk just fine.
desensitized.
Well, I hate to be the old guy here, but growing up in the 80s and 90s, we all heard, "Oh, KISS stands for Nathan Satan's Army," and the Osborne
Dungeons and Dragons are for Satanists.
and Dungeons and Dragons causing kids to kill people, and it's that heavy metal. I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm not saying
You better play your disclaimer again.
I'm not saying it's true. It's false, but you got people blaming video games and this and that and all that. But let's just look around real quick. What's the number?
How many two-parent?
What's the
homes
number
are there
one?
out there?
What's the number one most popular themed podcast available?
Joe Rogan?
True crime. That is
True
what
crime. Oh.
True Crime podcast. What's the number one trending show on Netflix right now?
Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm just saying, we got a lot of Lifetime channel is nothing but programs about people
When-
getting killed, raped, or molested.
Maybe it's a study in psychology that when human beings have less true difficulties in life and
Yes.
less gravity, they gravitate to these types of things and stuff like that. It's
I
like
was-
you're feeding that rush that you get when you have to survive, right? And it's an outlet for that.
You were saying earlier that we maybe need a reset, and I think Mike, Matt, and myself can say this because we just lived through it.
Well, you just had one.
We don't need a war. You don't need anything crazy. If we can just
Mother Nature needs to shake up the snow globe.
not even Mother Nature. If we can just get, hey, we're going to shut the power and internet off for 2 weeks at a time throughout each city.
Dude, I'd have to keep
People
an
would wake
armed
the fuck
watch in
up.
my house.
You're
I'm
not
in
the only
Vegas,
one.
man.
You're not the only one.
My wife works in retail now.
You're not the only one.
Check this out. My wife works in retail now, and it's a nice part of town. And the amount of shoplifting that goes on, 4 or 5 times a day they catch people. The amount of homeless people coming in and squatting out their bathroom. Again, nice part of town. It's crazy.
Irma, power went out for 16 days. Set up my army cot from a World War II reenactment. Slept in front of the sliding doors with my Glock in my lap. Ian, the neighbor ran electric power over here. We had a refrigerator, 2 fans, and a place to charge a phone. Carrie and Sariana slept in the bed. I slept in front of my cot in front of the open sliding door with my gun in my lap. Because when the power goes away, the looters come out to play. And you never, when you're sleeping in the house with all your doors and windows open to the world, and your fence is gone, you never, and it's dark as shit outside, and you have plenty of generators hiding the sound of people prancing through your yards. So yeah, I mean, in that matter,
I just got a visualization of a guy just prancing.
doing like
Can't
that,
hear me over these generators.
kind of doing the Fred Flintstone when he's bowling on his toes. But and if you think about it in kind of a way,
Like the Hamburglar.
you hear the cliche description thrown around. It's like a war zone. It's like, well, and when it comes to that, the fact that you have no power, no water, you're rationing your food, and you're sleeping with a firearm in your lap, it kind of was like a fucking war zone for a short period of time. But the good thing comes out of it, and we're already seeing it start to die down. But as we said before, everybody took care of everybody. I mean, Matt probably met more of our neighbors in that 10 days than he has in the 3 months he's been living here.
People behave themselves for the most part, huh?
And people check up on each other, and or they want to get to know who lives here so they can determine when a ne'er-do-well is walking through the neighborhood who don't belong here. Like, that motherfucker don't live here. What are you doing here? But everybody was taking care of everybody, and so it worked out quite well.
Well, to me, it's sad that it takes tragedy like that to for something like that to happen.
We're rolled full of narcissists.
I think it goes back to my whole statement about lack of gravity, and then when it actually happens, difficult times actually happen, and it snaps us too a little bit,
Yeah.
Look at 9/11 was the same way.
Absolutely.
And then, fast forward to George Floyd and everything else that was going on a few years ago. It's like, what happened to that America for post 9/11? It's amazing. It's just like a roller coaster of emotions.
That America.
We are a society that now runs on emotion, unfortunately. We're in the age of emotion, I think. We were in the age of technology. We're in the age of, industrialization, this and that. And now we're in the age of emotion. And that's not a good place to be, in my opinion.
Well, and sadly, that America died 4 weeks later when all the American flags everybody had on their cars fell in the streets because people forgot about them and their windows now flew away and couldn't be bothered to pull over and pick them up.
No crap. Well,
so even after 9/12,
I guess I'll keep the people in the corrections. Those guys out there cleaning the freeways. Got them a job.
So I haven't taken him up on it yet, but I've burdened Matt with the prospect of helping my fat ass lose some weight. Because you can't tell at the angle with his phone and his what looks like a double chin, but he's actually quite a little stocky, fit fella. I was laughing earlier when he was talking about playing in a band. I was going to say, yeah, he's one of the only drummers in town who instead of plays for beer, plays for bananas and carrot sticks.
And protein.
I tell you, Don, I'm actually down 20.
I'm down 3 since the storm. I did 20 minutes on my mixed fitness bike tonight. I was going to go to the gym. But
as we said before, I'm on TRT now, medical for sure. But one of the side effects
is that a strain of weed?
Definitely the water weight and the moon phase and everything else. So I am fighting that. That's all I'm drinking. It's water. I think I drink about a gallon and a half a day. What's interesting is I stepped on the scale Saturday. I was down about 2.5 pounds from the week before. I was like, cool, back on it. Then all weekend I just was feeling thinner. My watch got loose. Stepped on the scale today. I'm down another 4.
Nice.
My lifting, the benefit of TRT, is through the roof. I am almost as strong as I've ever been. Getting there, and that's like 20 years ago strong. So I'm starting. I'm starting what I would usually end with. I'm starting with now on the bench. Now I got to be careful because I've already blown out my left shoulder, rotator and labrum at once benching. And I know my right one's probably not far behind it. So I don't go crazy, but I've been doing heavier weights, working my way lighter as I go through my reps. I'm just trying to do a little bit of reverse pyramid, see how that works out for me.
What is your normal daily gym regimen, Matt? Obviously, you probably rotate between arms, upper and lower and all that shit, but just in general.
I actually focus on one muscle a day. I truly believe that.
We don't want to hear about your masturbation schedule, but other than that.
My left arm is huge.
Your genetics are your genetics. Yep. If you were to work out 2 or 3 times a day and 3 or 4 times the muscle a week, you're actually gonna overtrain. So I focus on isolation workout, break down the muscle. It's just your body, Darwinism, adapting. It's got to break itself down and wants to be strong in the next week, and then it just becomes a good diet and good rest. So, I try.
Let me run this one by you because we're a big family. You've met my brother. He's got broad shoulders. Same here. I'm definitely stockier built than him. Only a couple inches shorter. But here's kind of what I do. And it's been working out real well. Wednesdays I go in. I just use the power mill for 10 minutes to warm up. I tell me, cardio-wise, I don't think anything kicks my ass like the escalators to nowhere.
Yeah, I call it the stairway to hell.
Yeah, Stairway to Hell. Then I do that. I go do stretching. I can no longer do crunches because I blew out one of my 6-packs that's under this keg like 12 years ago. I used to do a weight crunching like 265 pounds, and then there was this horrible twisting sensation in my gut every time I do crunches. According to my orthopedic surgeon, he goes, yeah, you ruptured something. There's no fix.
From what I understand, if you're curling and doing free weights correctly, you work that same core, so that machine is basically
I do the rotation
useless, and you should stay away from it because it causes more injury than it does development of abs.
Yep. So I'm doing that. Then I stretch, and then Wednesdays I basically work strictly my my biceps. I usually do what used to be called supersets, half half, then whole. Do like 60, about 75, 80 reps, or 75 to 90 reps. I'll do some hammer curls, and then the only other muscle I'll do isolated lat pull downs. That's it. Same thing Thursday, Friday. Then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I go in and I just kind of back everything up, different groups.
And then he goes home and eats donuts.
Huh?
I said, then you go home and eat donuts.
Well, no, I've got a new rule. If there's donuts at the shop and I eat one, I now have to do 100 push-ups that day.
I did 15 push. I every once in a while I'll go into the room, especially
Ain't at once.
when everybody's at lunch.
Out.
When everybody's at lunch, I'm the only one at the office. I'll go into the room and bust out a quick 15 push-ups just to keep it going. Are you a lift to fail guy? Or are you a strict set guy?
Fail. Definitely fail. I feel that's the only way you're breaking down the muscle fiber if you're looking for strength and muscle building.
Because, by the way, going to the gym is a horrible way to actually lose weight. You need cardio to lose weight, and then the gym to help put on muscle mass. So
that is correct.
If you're wanting to strictly lose weight, throwing weights around, which, by the way, you lazy fucks, if you're going to go to the gym to move weights around, go ahead and include the time where you actually put the weight back on the rack as part of your fucking
dude,
set.
it's getting worse.
Dude, it doesn't exist anymore.
I'm chasing plate. Walking around the gym trying to find plates.
That's your cardio now.
That's your cardio now. Yeah, you went. They used to call that a fireman carry. Now it's called find the weights. And Gordon and I talked about this before. It's not so bad at Crunch because they got more than 4 of each weight. But when I went to Planet Fitness, you'd be like, "There's four 20-pound dumbbells. There's 4 25." And there'd be 2 chicks over there in the corner, and they would have the 10s, the 15s, the 20s, and the 25s, and both of them would have both instead of sharing. And it's like, you can't do your 15s. Put the shit back. Grab it.
It's an entitled society.
Oh yeah.
Common sense is not common anymore. It's everywhere. No matter where I go around here.
We got no less than 10 flat benches, and they're the ones that actually you can rock the weight forward, which I found is the way to go. Keep tearing this shit. Yep. And same thing, 10 sets of every size dumbbells. But these guys get their supersets, and they'll have them all piled up around them. And I was talking to one of the guys at work about it. He goes, "Well, that's how we have to get our supersets done, or we won't have any weights. We'll be chasing them everywhere. We can't work out properly."
Well, so then fuck everybody else. And so, like, when I see that, I was thinking last time, I was like, next time I see that, I'm going to go to the front counter. I'm like, can I get the, how much does the fuck everybody else membership cost? What's that? The fuck everybody else, that guy over there, he must pay for the fuck everybody else membership. Well, that's not a thing. Well, then why is that guy saying fuck everybody else and having all the, it's so goddamn annoying.
And I've got a place
which is why I just lug a
$44 a year, right? I bet you if I went to Lifetime Fitness, which is $144 a month, you probably run into the same shit.
At Lifetime Fitness at $144 a month, you might as well join CrossFit because that's some CrossFit money right there. Yeah. That shit's insane. How expensive that is.
But they got climbing walls and everything else.
The old joke is, how do you know someone does CrossFit? They'll let you know.
Don't they ever?
I developed the joke down here. How do you know someone's from Ohio? The car will tell you all about it.
How many Ohio State stickers do you see?
Oh, there's
all over out here too, man.
There's Jeeps. There's a Jeep down here. It has Ohio State logos on every headrest. It has the Ohio State logo on the back of the fucking tire. It has the Ohio State license plate ring. It's like, we get it, dude. I'm from Ohio. It's like, it's so ridiculous. And I've been putting this off. Speaking of Ohio, sadly, every time we get news from home, it's because someone died. And I was having a pretty good day at work until Gordon decided to text me earlier today.
Sorry.
A gentleman who was my roommate and best friend before I left Ohio to go to California. We went to high school together.
You went to high school together too, right?
We went to high school together. He didn't complete. And we knew each other in high school. We ran around the same circles, but we weren't we didn't hang out all the time. But as one gets older and enters into the working realm, when I got married and got a job at Horton Emergency Vehicles building ambulances, this gentleman and his brother both worked there. And so we started hanging out. And then when I got a divorce, he moved in, became my roommate, and spent a lot of time together. He's probably 41, maybe 39, 40. No, I'm 44, so he's probably 42, 43. He was a year behind me. Don't know exactly what happened other than the fact that he did not wake up for work today. Passed away I have a little more details, but I'm not going to go public with it because his family hasn't released it. As of right now, it's nothing nefarious or anything like that. It just seems to be health related. But speaking of being old white guys, it's just crazy how the older you get, the more and more this happens. And sadly, before I was 18, I'd already gone through 10 funerals, and 3 of those were family members. The rest of them were people my own contemporary age. So, but it's just hard, man. It's like, it's one thing, family member, an older person, or, somebody else, but it's like when somebody younger than you dies, it's like, and it's not like of a car accident or,
We'll just say natural causes.
Yeah, it's like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's what made me
that reminds us how much older we're getting, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if that's what made me get my ass on that bike tonight when I was cooking my food, but it's just like, I don't know, it's just rough. And so we lived together shortly after 9/11. And Gordon and I talk about rehab on this show a lot. The album Southern Discomfort came out right around the time, and this person is actually the one who introduced me to that group. And we used to ride to work together every morning. We wore the fuck out of that CD. And so tonight on the way home, I pulled up Spotify and pulled up Southern Discomfort and was listening to the songs. And I don't know, it's fucking rough. Sadly, all the photos I have from him is from 2000 because I left Ohio in 2001. But I don't know, man. It's just rough sledding. It just goes to show none of us are invincible. And so some of y'all sitting at home or listening to this in your car, and you've been thinking about maybe doing some lifestyle changes. Now, once again, I left 20 years ago, but when he and I lived together, we were both 2-pack-a-day smokers. So I don't know if he ever quit or not, but I don't know. It just seems like the way the wind's blowing, it was probably maybe health related. So I don't know. It's just a reminder that we're not getting any younger, and we're sure as shit ain't getting any more durable, despite increases in medical technology. So, so just take that into consideration when you guys are sitting around doing nothing. But I don't know. Kind of went through this when my stepmom died. That was a huge life changer for us too. That was another one of those. Just was fine one morning and gone the next, and that's when I really changed as far as not playing Xbox all day and spending more time outside, and just you kind of realize, shit, man. Through my 30s, my late 20s and 30s, I spent 8-12 hours a day just playing Xbox. And now I'm under the mind state of, hey, we're going to have some kick-ass video games when I'm 70. So when I can't walk anymore because of the 18 years of skateboarding and snowboarding and the 7 years of running I'll have plenty of time.
You'll spawn and die.
I'll have plenty of time to play video games when I'm 80 and 70. God willing, I'm still on this planet. I just don't want to get to that point where I'm resent the fact that I spent my 30s and 40s and 20s sitting on my ass. And so that's part of the reason why I'm out doing all the shit I do. And so just another wake-up call, man. Just our time on this blue marble, sliding around the universe is not that long. And so get off, go out and experience life and do things, because you never
You're like that guy on TikTok. Get to the fucking gym.
That fucking guy. So now that downer's over, before we get to the news, I'm going to preemphasize the news. When I say Oregon, Gordon, what do you think?
Mount Hood, beautiful mountains. Unfortunately, after 2020, blue-haired, crazy, and right.
Mike, Matt, when I say Oregon, what do you guys think?
Drug problem.
Oh, wait, I got it. You died of dysentery.
Oh, Oregon Trail. That's right. We're going back to the 8-bit game. Oregon's full disclosure, this is New York Post, so they have a left-leaning, but anyhow, according to their title, Oregon conservative counties consider succeeding joining Greater Idaho. Wouldn't that be fucking great? Well, actually, this is of October 13th, 2022, so not that old, because it's back in the talk again.
Yeah, I think it comes around. It's
Two
like
conservative
succeeding.
and parts. Remember when California wanted to split into 3?
I actually wouldn't think that's a bad idea.
Yeah,
those motherfuckers keep coming here.
2 conservative counties in eastern Oregon will vote on a ballot measure in November to decide whether to leave one of the most liberal states in the country to join the western neighbors in a newly redrawn Greater Idaho. Wasn't that a B-52 song?
What, Greater Idaho?
Yeah, the Greater Idaho movement seeks to make 15 of Oregon's counties and part of two others comprising roughly 2/3 of the Beaver State's land area as part of Idaho. You should see the map; it's pretty crazy. Supporters of the movement say that its largely conservative and sparsely populated eastern counties have much more in common with the Republican-led Idaho than the crazy left-leaning Oregonians, whose politics are dominated by the state's densely populated cities in the West.
Oh, and they're dense.
Yeah, right. It makes more sense for Eastern Oregonians to get state-level governance coming from Idaho, where they share the same values, share the same culture, and share their politics, than it does to be governed by Western Oregon. Greater Idaho spokesperson Matt McCall told Fox News. To date, 9 of Oregon's 36 counties have voted in favor of exploring changes to the state's border, and 2 others, Morrow and Wheeler, will vote to endorse the idea on early election day. In Morrow County, the measure requires that the County Board of Commissions to meet 3 times a year to discuss how best to promote their county's interest in, quote, any negotiations regarding the relocation of the Oregon-Idaho state border. I mean, we got to get all new maps for our schools. In Wheeler County, residents will vote to request Oregon state lawmakers to allocate tax dollars to work towards moving the Idaho border. It's not a physical border. We got to buy paint.
We got to get a bunch of people up there and pick up that dotted line and slide it to the west.
We got to get paint. Earlier maps had the borders of Great Idaho
paint a bunch of
extending
cocks as the border, please.
as far as the Pacific Ocean. However, the proposed border was redrawn after less than 50% of the voters in 2 counties in the southwestern Oregon voted in favor of leaving, according to Fox News. Quote, our whole core principle is that people deserve to have their kind of governance that they want and that they share the same values. Of course, they can't just up and vote. The federal government's got to approve it. Idaho's got to approve it. Oregon's got to approve it. And I'm not saying, hey, if you live in a state where you don't agree with the governance, let's just succeed. I'm not saying it's a good idea, but in this case, I'm not saying it's a bad idea either. It's almost one of those positions where it's like we almost need to let it happen so that maybe some politicians will open their fucking eyes and think, okay, maybe we need to start focusing on the people and less on the politics of the day and the news stories of the day.
And that's the problem. I actually have been not reading the news much lately or watching local TV because of the ads are just so bad for political season. But the problem is you read the AP or anything and everything is pinned in a way that, you know, one side says, yeah, we'll say the left says the right. It's all disinformation and this is bad for the democracy and you can't tell lies and get away with it and this and that. And as a guy who's not a Republican nor Democrat, I'm like, you both are doing the same shit.
Mm-hmm.
Knock it off.
You know that AP stands for asshole publications.
You know, I'm a libertarian. I guess that actually put me on the list too.
Before we get to the news, you brought it up, advertisements.
Uh-huh.
Mike, Matt, is it me? Or do you get slightly annoyed and pissed off when you hear Ford commercials talking about when Hurricane Ian came through, we're here for you. So if you got paint damage,
Those
come on
things
down.
came rusty
trade
out
it
of
in.
the fucking factory in 2020, 2021.
You're listening to Pandora and Lowe's. When Ian come through town, we're part of your neighborhood. That's why we put the important shit up front so you can find it quicker. Isn't distaste for large corporations that use natural disasters by name and all their fucking advertisement because they want to quote-unquote relate? Now, for 3 guys who didn't suffer a whole lot of losses, not a big deal, but I can imagine the people like my dad and the people in Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, Pine Island, who lost fucking everything. Maybe not of them are cynical assholes such as myself, but I find it in bad taste.
It's horrible taste.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's kind of like no good tragedy. Don't let any tragedy
Don't let
go
a good
to
tragedy
waste,
go to
right?
waste. What do you
Except
think,
this
Mike?
is the corporate version of it.
Could you imagine if they did that for mass shootings?
Hmm.
When your schools got shot up, that's our community too. So if your car's got any bullet holes in them in the parking lot, come on down to Rick's car lot. We'll fix you up real good. No, that shit wouldn't fly, but You know, hurricane
Come
comes.
buy an F-150 and get an AR. Protect yourself.
Yeah, right. Well, I think they do that in Texas.
Yeah.
But
Which I have no problem with. I'd love to buy a truck and get a free gun.
wouldn't you though? Somebody did that, and boy, people were fucking pissed.
Oh, Black Rifle gave their employees rifles.
Yep.
I mean, hell, it's in the name. By the way, you can find them at Walmart.
Joining us live from the formerly at Computer's new desk in Las Vegas, Nevada, it's Gordon. Gordon, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right.
Good
Real quick,
grades,
I'm not
his
going to go into
future's
the
so
story, but I
bright.
did read that Kroger's is merging with Albertsons.
I thought Kroger's bought Albertsons.
No, they're doing it now.
That was
Albertson still exists?
Absolutely. They're like the third largest grocery store chain in the world.
Albertsons.
They own Vaughn's and Safeway out on this side of the country.
Yeah, we had Albertsons when I moved down here in 2004, but they got all bought out and turned into Publixes.
Basically, it sounds like they just skedaddled out of Florida and Publix took over.
You can't compete with Publix. They're like the goddamn mob. There's one every 6 miles.
I bet you Publix can't compete with Kroger's.
That's like Eckerd's getting taken over by CVS.
Yeah, no. So it's actually it looks like
Welcome to
Kroger-
Four White Guys
Kroger's
talking
has
about
like
grocery
3 or 4
stores.
times the valuation. So Kroger's is going to be the big monster now, who's there out of our hometown of Cincinnati.
Baby,
And we
if
got
you
that. Now I got a
ever
question. This is I want
wondered
you to guess the
what
place
became of me.
that this happened.
I'm living in the air in Cincinnati. Cincinnati,
A detained
WKRP.
man was resisting arrest and decided to start biting a service dog.
That's fucked up.
Officers were called to a
Dog might
dispute
get rabies.
between. Huh?
That dog might get rabies.
All right. I'm just wondering, what location in the world is this?
Germany.
Huh?
Germany.
Fuck.
What was that, Matt?
What's that? Officers were called to a dispute between a 29-year-old man and a 35-year-old woman
Ah, she's robbing the cradle.
shortly
Look at
after
her.
midnight. The trio acted in an extremely aggressive and uncooperative fashion, according to police.
In the words of my good friend Mark Haney, nothing good happens after midnight.
Officers were only able to overpower one of the men by using massive physical force, according to the report. In the course of the resisting arrest, the 29-year-old man also bit the police dog. Turn out about turning the tables on a cop dog. But the dog was like, "What the hell?" The statement said, adding that the canine did not sustain any injuries. Yeah, the guy's bite ain't nothing compared to theirs.
Not to mention,
Meanwhile,
German Shepherds have
35-year-old
about 6
woman
inches of
injured the police officer with a punch to the face.
fur. Ooh.
So you got 3 people, 2 guys fighting, and a woman. Guy bit the dog, the cop dog, and the woman punched the cop.
Well, hold on, let me pause the story real quick because inquiring minds want to know. If I'm 6'5",
Uh-huh.
let's
Oh,
just-
you're getting tased right away.
let's just say 215 pounds on a good day, and I identify as a female, and I were to punch a woman cop in the face, obviously I'd get brought up on a battery upon a law enforcement officer, but would there be extra charges for me being a man beating on a woman, or is it woman on woman because I identify as a lady?
That's a good question. It's kind of like a domestic case, say in Ohio. A guy and a girl gets into it, and the police come, and
Let's
they
say
want to arrest the guy right
hypothetically the
away, and
woman's
the guy says, "I'm a
pregnant."
female. I'm a woman. You can't arrest me."
Well, they would say, actually, sir, domestic violence is anytime 2 people cohabitate, so it don't matter what the sexes are in that case.
Yeah, but usually the guy gets arrested, right?
Yeah.
But if the
my
guy says, "I'm not a
experience,
guy, I'm a girl,"
hypothetically speaking, if you're a senior in high school and a 21-year-old beats you up and you go to jail and you look like the fucking Crow and Tupac gets shot, yeah. So I've heard.
Anyway, where did
You
this
get
take
out of
place?
jail and you go to school the next day and you get $40 and a bag of pretzels.
Florida.
I say Florida.
I say Germany.
Don,
Bing, 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 bing.
Berlin.
Jawohl.
Fuck.
Eichnein Berliner.
Yep.
Und Scheiße.
Coming in from one Swampscott, Massachusetts. You know, I talk about walking my doggos in the morning and I see coyotes.
By the way, joining the small dog club, Matt's coming in with a little pup named Foxy, who is a
Corgi.
corgi. So now we have a Boston.
You got a corgi butt now.
Mm-hmm.
And
The inventor, that is the dog that the Sploot was named after.
watch
That's
your
it.
mouth. This is a family show, sir.
You know what a sploot is?
Watch your mouth. Is that? It sounds like kind of like what you're saying earlier. What did you call it? Straight up. You said something about straight drone footage. Sound like weird porn.
Wow, where's your mind, bro?
I don't know.
I thought the testosterone got me revved up.
The wine got him revved up.
Yeah, apparently.
19 crimes. Matt can attest. This is good shit for $9.
He's going to start doing paintings now and chatting with the lady.
It's no Manischewitz, but it'll get you by, huh, fella?
Swampscott, Massachusetts. That is an interesting name for a word.
That sounds like a place out in the Everglades.
Yeah, it sounds like it'd stink too. Coyotes surrounded a person walking their dogs, and that is coyotes plural.
Ooh.
Located north of Boston.
Boston.
Matt, you are definitely from the East Coast. Where are you from?
Long Island.
Long Island. All right, cool.
Now here's a fun game. Name the ethnicity
Of what?
Italian.
Gordon.
Oh, of Richter?
No, Matt.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I would say.
Are you related to Johnny Richter of Cottonmouth Kings by any chance?
Hold on. I would say Matthew Richter. I would say that is maybe Austrian.
You're close by the country, but the real heritage is what Don is looking for.
He's part of the tribe.
I was about to say, you got one of them hats with the little propeller on the top of it?
Got one of them.
There you go. Well, actually,
somewhere.
yeah, I see it. So check it out. I've been doing continuing some research on our family lineage, and we have I decided to track down a name that just would stick out, and there was. What was her name?
He's having a senior moment.
Yeah, I'm having a senior. Basically, it was a name that went back on my great grandmother's side to a Shalom. Oh, Elizabeth Israel was her name. So it went back to
How could you forget that
Israel
fucking name?
I
forgot the name
of
Israel.
New York. So we also have
We're part of the tribe.
the tribe blood in us. Unfortunately, we didn't get the good sense with money, but hey, you know.
No, the white trash Irish side came up predominantly on our family for
The
that.
Scots. That's a Scottish last name you got there, bud. But yes. So anyway, these coyotes surrounded a person while walking their dog north of Boston over the weekend, but I was apparently scared off by police cruisers that arrived to help. I would just start yelling at the dogs with the old "Get on now, get!"
Go now, get. Go, scoot.
Police in Swampscott received the call around 9:30 p.m. Saturday from a dog walker who said they were surrounded and that the coyotes were not backing down. According to police on a Facebook post, the officers counted at least 9 coyotes, and they retreated after the arrival of the cruisers with their flashing lights. Police escorted a dog walker and their pet to their home with no additional danger, of course. Police also posted tips for the Humane Society with how to deal with bold coyotes, which one's your curry, urging residents to be aware of their surroundings when walking the dogs, especially in the evenings when the coyotes are most active. I find it about 4 a.m. here. And police are recommending people bring noisemakers, squirt guns, or pepper spray with them to scare the coyotes
Or just
away.
bring a fucking gun. Can we? These northeastern states.
Technically, I'm not even allowed to discharge an air rifle in this fucking.
Settled in 1629, incorporated in 1852, and they're telling people to bring bear spray. How many people do you think live in a fine incorporated area of Swampscott, Massachusetts?
14,000.
Gordon?
60,000.
60 with a 0?
Yes.
Matt?
8,000.
And Swampscott, you telling me a lovely place such as the famous Swampscott, Massachusetts has 8,000 people? Mike, if I had money, you would win. 15,111 as of 2020. You're right there on it now. I will say, if we were playing by Price is Right rules, Matt would have won. You got close without going over. But,
And final story is one I alluded to earlier in the show. Coming in out of Tallahassee, Florida via the AP, a winning $494 million with an M lottery ticket was sold in the city battered by
that's only $331 million after taxes, son of a bitch.
And if you take it all at once, you're getting half of it.
Mm-hmm.
But a winning lottery ticket worth the share of $494 million Mega Millions jackpot was purchased in Southwest Florida City, hammered by Hurricane Ian late last month.
So what you're saying, some hurricane rescue worker came down here and bought a damn lottery ticket, went back to Jacksonville and won the fucking lottery.
Yeah, some lineman who scored with the bucket bunnies really big also scored big on his money. Florida lottery officials Monday said one of 2 winning tickets that was purchased at a 7-Eleven in Fort Myers, and the other winning ticket was bought in California. God damn it, I bought all mine in Montana. Hurricane Ian made landfall.
Imagine having to drive to another state to get a fucking Powerball lottery because you live in a fucking weird state. All right, you guys can go down and spend your life savings at the fucking casino and the gas station, but if you want a lottery ticket, you gotta go across the border.
Prostitutes, but you gotta go.
You're like somebody living in
California.
Ohio driving to Indiana to get fucking fireworks.
And, by that. So Hurricane Ian, as we know, made landfall as Cat 4. I'm really surprised they didn't upgrade that to a Cat 5 at some point.
No, it was like 2 miles an hour off.
2 miles an hour. Yep.
Come on, just round up. What's 2 miles an hour at this point? I mean, it's like, okay, now it's a 5. Has been blamed for more than 100 fatalities in the state and the third deadliest, blah, blah, blah. We know this. So according to Florida, lottery winners have 180 days to claim their prize. Under new state law, lottery winners can remain anonymous for 90 days from the day they claim their winnings.
For 90 days? So that means you have 90 days to dodge your fucking relatives?
Down there, you're going to be dodging more than relatives right now. Hey, you want to invest in the Lani Kai and pick it back up?
We need some new sky tables up here.
So past winners have also set up legal trusts. I've always thought of what would happen if, the rare cases I buy a lottery ticket twice a year, wins is nobody knows shit. They'd be contacted by my lawyers.
I'm sorry, but if you won the Powerball and you want to invest in a business on Fort Myers Beach, you need to bring back that little white place to the right of the Lani Kai that sold the world's best black and grouper.
Was that the one that still had the American flag still standing?
Probably. That was the place we all went after Melody's funeral.
Yeah,
that's where I was supposed to play last Friday.
What was that?
My last gig.
That was one of those joints that had like 2 names.
The Cottage
yeah, the
and
Cottage.
Shuckers at the Cottage.
Yes, they had the best black and grouper on the fucking beach.
I think that's when I first came down to see Don. I was like, gotta go here, gotta get that black and grouper.
That was my favorite place.
He talked up that black and grouper like he talked up maybe more so than In-N-Out when he first moved to California.
No, I was more on the Baja Fresh bandwagon back then.
We still have one here. I haven't been there in a while.
Yeah. But the closest one's in Tampa Airport.
So fly out of Tampa now.
Oh, yeah, you.
That is it for news.
There goes the quality of our production of this fucking show.
This concludes the evening news, and now back to the ACT Computer Studio in Cape Coral, Florida.
It's no longer the Act Computer Studio, and if you want to sponsor the studio, please send us an email at info@d-410.com. And while you're on your computer sending an email telling us how bad we suck, please head over to d-410.com, click on the Patreon link, and like and subscribe and sign up. It'll only cost you $1 a month, and it'll go a long way to help buy me $9 bottles of wine so I can get drunk on the podcast like I've been doing lately, and help contribute to things we do on the show. And while you're there, also go to YouTube channel and watch some of our videos and our fishing content. And while you're also at d-410.com, up there in that toolbar, click on the Tackle Your Personal Best podcast and check out Mike's podcast. Episodes 7 and 8 are up right now. You can find all of our podcasts here on the Digital 410 network on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and where any fine podcast, and, well, let's face it, there's 200 million podcasts enrolled, or any mediocre podcast are found. Download them and enjoy them today. That is just about going to wrap it up. I want to thank Mike, Gordon, Matt, and everyone for hanging out with us and contributing. And we're going to about wrap this bad boy up. And I want to say thanks to everybody, and we will talk to you all next week.
This has been a Digital 410 production.